Hello friends, welcome to Java Swing tutorial. Now you are watching part 6 of the drag and drop tutorial, drag and drop between two JLists. So in this video we are going to implement the remaining two functions for the transfer handler. So here in this video you will learn about transferable, transfer support and drop location objects. So you may already have the basic knowledge of transferable interface, and here we will make use of a get transferable, so that actually returns a transferable, then get transfer data. So here we will get the exported data for the importing purpose. Then we make use of the get drop location. So suppose if we are making a drag and drop, and if we are dropping on this particular location, so that's where we get here with this drop location. So the drop location will give the location JList location object that represents the drop location of the destination, that means the drop target. So these are all the slides from the previous parts. So in this video, in the last video we used get source actions, then we used create transferable. That means we performed our duty with the export data. Now we will do the validation canImport, then we will also implement the import data. So here we will perform the task of the import. So in the last video we talked about this TransferHandler implementation. We talked about both get source as well as transferable. So now we will implement the canImport method. So if you see here in this canImport, we get a TransferSupport object, and from this support object we check is data flavor supported. So this is the method we use, and we check the flavor is a string flavor. So if you remember, when we are exporting the data, we used string selection object, and we constructed it by passing the string, and the string will contain the data. So selected data, which is split by the new line character. So since the string selection object is in the string flavor, we definitely get true. So here we are returning true, otherwise we will return false. So this method will be useful when there are multiple drop target. Say for example, here we use two JLists. This is one JList and this one is the next JList. Here there is no issue. Suppose for example here the drop location is some HTML content, then when we are dragging and try to drop here, this method will get called, and since this is the drop location, and if this HTML object doesn't support string flavor, it will support only HTML flavor, then this method will return false. That means when you are moving the drop target, here you will see the proper icon, but for this control you will see something like this. That means the icon will be like this. So that shows that the transfer is not supported here. So whenever you return true, it shows transfer is supported. So that's all here. here we are making use of the TransferSupport object, and we receive that as a parameter. Then from that we are making call to is data flavor supported, and in our case we are supporting only the string flavor because we construct string selection by passing the string object. So that's one method we are going to implement. Next, in the import data, so if you see here, we are getting so here we receive the TransferSupport object when we are overriding this method, and from that method you can get the transferable object. From the TransferSupport we are retrieving the get transferable object, and we are receiving that as a transferable. Then we declared two variables, one is export data and another one is string array. And here if you see, from our transferable object we get transfer data and we specify data flavor dot string flavor. So if you remember, this is nothing but whatever we created in the previous video as part of the export. So we implemented the create transferable, right? In that create transferable we packed our data into string selection object. So that's where here we are retrieving export transfer. So here we will get transferable. This transferable is nothing but our string selection object, and from that string selection object we are retrieving the get transfer data and we are typecasting it to string, and we are holding that here in the exported data. Finally, we are this exported data, if you see, it's in string format. Then we are, this is normal string function, we are making call to split and passing the /n so that we can collect the data in the string array. So this one, if you see, we know the string data how we pack it, right? So we packed it like this. So if there are 3 items selected, then we packed it like this: 1, 2/n, 3/n. Likewise, we packed it. So that means, so this 1, 2, 3 are our selected list item before the drag and drop. So, and if we just selected this and dropped it here, so our transferable object, we packed it like this. Now once we are dropping it here, this method get called, and first we get the transferable object, get transferable, and we store that as exported TFR, which is transferable object. This is nothing but string selection. Then from there we are getting the exported data by making call to get a transfer data. So get transfer data just returned this, and we collected that in the export data. Then using the split function, so this one is the list data, right? And list data is nothing but our string array, and in the string array we actually get all the data that needs to be imported here in the target. So we get like this is because this is in the string format and this is array for internal usage. So import data is not yet finished, and if you see the method called get transfer data, that needs unsupported flavor exception. Here we are saying data flavor, string flavor, and in our canImport we already made a check for this. So but still Java requires unsupported flavor exception here. So since it is forcibly, we need to cut it. So Java is making this as a checked exception, this unsupported flavor exception. So we have to catch this exception, so it's must. So then we are catching the IO exception also. So these two are expected by the Java runtime, so we are catching it, and we don't want to handle anything. That's why we provide a empty handler. So it's just for learning purpose, but in real world you can add some code there. You can put some logging stuff. So in the previous slide you saw that the data is ready in the form of a string array. Now here from the support object, so support in the sense, if you have a look at here, it's a transfer support, so we are receiving it as a parameter, right? Support object. So that support object we are using, and here we are making call to get component. So this get component will give the component object, and we are typecasting it to JList. So this is nothing but the drop location. So we know that the method import data will get called on the drop component. So that's why when we make a call to get component on the support object, we will get the drop target. So once we have drop target JList in hand, we can perform a task that is related to the drop location. I mean the task that is related to the target location. Target location here is JList. And from the support object we get the drop location also. So there are a difference between these two. Let's consider this is our drop target, and it already contains some items. So let's say you are dragging something, one or many item, and you are dropping it here. So this get component will give the drop target. That means our JList. If there are multiple JList, we need to know, and let's assume that all will support the drag and drop operation. So in that case we need which one is the drop location, right? So get component will give that drop target, which JList component we want to drop the selected list. So this will be the source, and if there are multiple JList and all supports a drag and drop, then this get component will give you which JList component we are trying to drop the object. So once the object is located, inside that which location we want to drop, there are multiple locations, right? Index 0, index 1, 2, 3. So we want to drop at index location 1. So that's what here JList dot object name, if you see drop location. So this also we need, so that's why we are getting that get a drop location. This is one, which object, which JList object, and this particular one, that's to drop location. That's what we are getting. So which list, and within that list which location. So once that is done, from drop location object we already got it here, drop underscore location, and if you see here we are using is insert. Why? Because from source we can actually perform insert as well as replace. Why? Because there are multiple drop mode available. Drop mode, if you see on select, insert also we studied, right? So if we select insert or on insert, that we will learn in the next video. For that check, here we are checking is drop location is insert. So that means we need to insert in between the item, or we need to replace the existing item. So this will get clear when we go to next video, but still for now you can know whether we want to insert item or replace. So that's what here we are getting. So if insert, not, then we are replacing, otherwise we are inserting it. So that's what here we are having it. Then from drop location we are getting the index also. So in this example, if you see, the index is 1, so that's what we get here. So at what location we want to drop. So here we need to make our own implementation, right? That's why we are making use of this drop location object, JList.drop location. Then first we are checking whether we want to insert or replace. Then we get the index location where we want to insert or even replace. After that, we need the list model. So we know that for to JList we already created two default list model, and SRC1, SRC2 through SRC6. So in the first or second video we created it, SRC2, SRC6. Then for a target location we have similar 6 items. Using add element we added those data using the default list model. So here we are from the drop target we are getting the default list model. So here we are making use of the function get model that will give us the data. So once target default list model is ready, why? Because we want to make changes to this data, right? That's why we are getting the default list model, and default list model record here is drop target. So drop target's default list model we are getting it. Then if it is a replace, what we are doing, string list data in the previous slide we saw, we received string /n separated, then from there we are having an array of string, right? That is what this list data, we are iterating that array 1 2 3. Then using this target list model here, if you see, since it's a replace, we are making call to set, and here these are all just a list model function. Set will actually replace the item at this specific index location. The item will be replaced, and if it is add, the item will get added. So none of the item will get replaced. So if target is between 2 and 3, then new item will get added here. If it is multiple selection, 3 selection, 3 items will get replaced here. Inserted here if it is not a replace. If we go here, item will get inserted, and here we do the replace. So these two are required for the drop location. I mean the drop options. There are 4 drop options, right? We have a toolbar for this drop option. So here in this video we are going to study selection only. In the next video we will study all the drop option. So since this is the first time we are going through the drop implementation, I mean the transfer handler implementation, I do not want to confuse with all the drop option. For now, let us go with the selection in this video. So that's all here. Now let's go ahead and implement. You will get to know how the drag and drop is working. In the next video we will study about all the drop options. So here we will study only the selection, that means the default toolbar option. Now it's a demo time. So in the last video we implemented simple DTS manager. Let me add some suppress warnings. Okay, now we will go to source and override our implement method. Here first we will implement our validation function canImport. So this method should tell import is allowed or not. So useful for the drop target to show a valid icon. So data flavor is from java.awt.data-transfer. And if you see here, string selection object. So this is actually the string flavor. That's why when we make a call to TransferSupport.isDataFlavor supported, and when we pass data flavor.string flavor, we will definitely get true here. So we are saying proceed. But because here we are creating the string flavored data, string selection, and the string flavor will, this is data flavor supported, will tell that the data is in string flavor, so it is supported for the drop target. So the same way you can override the import data. So these are all already explained in the slide. So get exported data. So transfer support object, here we are receiving. These are all our two declaration. Here the string from the transfer support, we already have the export transfer, and we are making call to get transfer data, string data flavor we are giving. Then we get the exported data. So the exported data is here. Here we are exporting data, right, in the form of a string selection. First we form our data, then we form a string selection object, and we return it. So this is the transferable data which is packed here as part of the export. Here it's part of the import, and that is here it works on the drag source. This will work on the drop target. So in the drop target, we are getting the data in transition, which is nothing but the transferable object. Here we are packing the transferable object and returning it, right? So that's how here we are receiving it. Get transferable. In the import context, we are getting the transferable. And from this transferable, we are getting the packed data, which is in the string format. Then using the split method, we get our dragged list items in the form of a string array. So these exceptions are required. java.awt.data transfer, and another one is IO from IO package. All right, here if you see get component, we are making call, and get component we are getting it from the support object here, and we are typecasting it to the drop target. Here if you see, we directly get the component as a parameter. So here also we typecasted it as JList, but here it refers the drag source. Here it will represent the target, drop target. Then get drop location from support object itself, from transfer support object itself, get drop location. This will give the JList drop location. Once drop location is in hand, we are checking whether it is insert and or replace. So based on that, we have a Boolean variable. Then we get the index of our drop location also. After that, we get the default list model. If you see here, this is where we are packing our list model, right? When we are in the frame window, when we create the JList, that time itself we prepared the data, then we passed that data while creating the list. So this data is what we are getting here. Get model. So this get model from drop target, which is nothing but our JList. It will give the default list model. That's all. Once we have the default list model, then we manipulate the data using the set and add. Set we use when we want to replace, and add we use when we want to insert the data. Alright, now it's time to test it. Let me run this once, and if you see, first I am dragging source 3, and you can see now it is showing the icon for move. That means whatever item I selected, that will get removed. So in the source, if you see, the item SRC is what I am moving, and I want to replace it with destination 2. And once I release my mouse, you can see that the item got replaced here in the default, in the drop target. Now we will replace one more item, and the item is here replaced. And if you see, there is one problem that we will rectify in the next video. So since this is the move operation, the item should be removed here. And if you see here in our transfer handler, we haven't implemented the export done. So export done is the perfect location to perform the cleanup, or if we want to do some manipulation on the source object. So we will do those cleanup in the next video. Alright, now let me do the copy also. So copy, I can hold down the control key, and this also we have to use in the next video. So the icon is showing perfect here. This is a copy operation, but copy and move worked the same way here, and here it is a selection object. So now let me run this once again. We will check the multiple selection also, and here there is one issue, and if I choose destination 5 here, it won't work the nice way. But if I go and take it here, you can see destination 3, 4, 5, 6 get replaced. Now let me run this once again. This time I'm choosing 3 object. So here if you see, we have to perform some more validation. So to avoid complexity, I am not doing those validation, and you can see item 5 and 6 get replaced by SRC 1 and 2, and 3 is not replaced here. So there are still some pending tasks. One is supporting for copy and move operation. So that means we need to manipulate the source also. So source we will manipulate in the export done implementation that we haven't yet done. We are done with the import data. So export done we have to implement in the next video. Also, if you see here, at present we are supporting this selection object only. We need to support these 3 options also. So here you are seeing insert option, right? So this is where our check here will be used. So is insert. So if it is insert, then we are inserting the object, not replacing it in the target list. So this is insert plus on. So that we will study in the next video. Yeah, that's all here in this video. Thank you for watching. Bye.